So this is the first video in the economics course. So when we look at economics from the UPSC perspective, we are majorly going to be looking at macroeconomics. So what is macroeconomics? Macroeconomics looks at the economy of the entire country in detail. So at the very center of macroeconomics is the role of the Reserve Bank of India. The Reserve Bank of India is also called as the central bank. Do not confuse Central Bank of India and Reserve Bank of India. There is another institution called Central Bank of India. That is a different nationalized bank. We are going to be looking at Reserve Bank of India. The Reserve Bank of India is also called as the central bank. So before we begin studying about the Reserve Bank of India, we have to start questioning a few things. For example, what is the RBI? Why does it exist? What function does it perform? Is it run by the government or is it independent from the government? Or does the RBI function in tandem with the government? These are some of the questions we'll try to answer during this course. So the RBI is called as India's central bank. This is not to be confused with the Central Bank of India, which is a nationalized bank under the Ministry of Finance. So all the nationalized banks in India are under the Ministry of Finance. Nationalized bank means that the government has a majority stake in that bank. For example, SBI, State Bank of India, is a nationalized bank. It is also under the Ministry of Finance. The generic term central bank is used for the principal bank of the country, which oversees certain important functions. For example, the Central Bank of United States of America is called the Federal Bank, right? Or the Fed. So the generic term central bank is used for the principal bank of the country, which oversees certain important functions. In India's case, it is the RBI that looks at these important functions. Number one, regulating the monetary policy of the country. So what does monetary policy mean? Monetary means money. You can always think monetary means money. So the first function of the RBI is regulating the monetary policy of the country. The second one, working as the government's banker. For example, to me and you, we have certain nationalized banks as our banker. It could be SBI, it could be certain other banks in your area, or it could be private banks like HDFC and ICICI. These are bankers to us. But the government also needs a banker. So who is the government's banker? It is the Reserve Bank of India. The third important function is that minting and issuing currency. It is not that anybody can go and start printing currency. If you do, then you will be in jail because it is a criminal offense. There is only one institution in the country that is allowed to mint and issue currency, and that is the Reserve Bank of India. So the fourth function that we look at is the RBI also manages foreign exchange reserves and the value of the domestic currency. For example, the value of 1 USD can be looked at as around 82 rupees. So the RBI tries to intervene in the market and it tries to stabilize the currency whenever the currency is not stable. At the same time, India has to import certain things like petroleum, right? Petroleum and petroleum products, because we don't have enough reserves in India. So this is, we imported from the Middle East majorly, and we have now diversified even to Russia and some countries in South America. So when we buy certain products from outside, we have to pay them, and we have to pay them in an international currency like USD, that is the dollar, the US dollar. So we have to maintain reserves of this currency with us, and this is done by the RBI. The fifth function of the RBI is that it is a banker to scheduled commercial banks, including nationalized banks. So we have already discussed how the RBI is a banker to the government. In a similar vein, the RBI is also banker to commercialized banks, including nationalized banks. So let's say SBI suddenly needs a lot of money to maintain certain ratios. Then what happens is SBI will approach RBI. So at any point in time, the scheduled commercial banks or national banks can go to RBI as its banker. We will discuss about these 5 points in detail in the coming videos. You don't have to worry. This is just an introduction. These are the 5 broad functions of RBI. right? These are some of the important functions that a central bank does. In India, as we have said, the central bank is RBI. In the USA, it is the Federal Reserve. In England, it is the Bank of England. In Australia, it is the Reserve Bank of Australia. So, different countries have one principal bank which acts as the central bank. In India, it is the RBI. So, we also look at RBI's role as an institution and its basic functions. So, the RBI is a statutory institution. What does statutory institution mean? This means that it is an institution that has come into existence through an act of the parliament. Statutory always means that it has come into existence through an act of the parliament or through some law, right? So, RBI is a statutory body. The RBI was established on April 1st, 1935 in accordance with the provisions of the Reserve Bank of India Act of 1934. It was initially privately owned, but in 1949 it was nationalized. So today the RBI is fully owned by the government of India. Okay, so the RBI is a nationalized body. It is fully owned by the government of India. So what does the RBI do in simple terms? We just discussed 5 important functions of the RBI. We will continue looking further now. Okay, the RBI is a central bank and it has some similar functions to other central banks around the world. The RBI regulates the issue of currency. We have already seen this. It also maintains currency reserves so that there is monetary stability in India. What does monetary stability mean? For example, today 1 USD is equal to 82 rupees. Now, let's say we don't have enough US dollars to pay for petroleum products. Then what happens is the value of rupee begins to come down. So, by coming down, it means that 1 USD then can buy 100 rupees, which is not a good case for India. So, the RBI looks at the overall monetary stability of the country. The RBI charts the monetary policy framework to manage the supply of money in the economy, thus also keeping the general price stability in check. So, the RBI is responsible for the monetary policy of the country. What does the monetary policy do? It looks at the money supply in the economy. But at the same time, we also have to look at the general price stability because we don't want a lot of inflation in the country. So, we also look at a general price stability while taking the country's economic growth also into consideration. This is also known as inflation targeting. Another broad function of RBI is that it manages the forex reserves in such a way so as to secure the country's financial stability. It also manages the rupee value in international market. In addition to the RBI Act of 1934, the RBI also draws powers to implement its functions from the following. The first one is the Banking Regulation Act of 1949. The second one is the FEMA of 1999. So, FEMA is Foreign Exchange Management Act of 1999. The third one that we look at is the Securities Act of 2006. The fourth one is Payment and Settlements Acts of 2007. The fifth one is the Government Securities Act of 2006. We will look at these acts as we go through this course. We will have over 40 videos in this course. So, as we go ahead, we will look at these acts also. For now, you just have to learn these acts. So, Section 18 of the RBI Act facilitates the RBI to act as a lender of the last resort. This is a very important point. Okay, the RBI is known as the lender of the last resort, and the Section 18 of the RBI Act facilitates the RBI to do this. We will understand what this means later on. So, this is about an introduction to the RBI and how it acts as a central bank, what its basic functions are. We saw 5 functions of the RBI. We also tried to look at what these basic functions mean in a small way. We will continue working on this in the videos to come. Thank you.